Hey friends, it's Lyn Lindbergh with the Couch to Active podcast, and today I have a very, very special guest, longtime student on with us today, Lisa Salinger. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Oh my gosh, I am so glad you're here too. And folks, Lisa's one of our original students of Couch to Active, and I feel like we go back 100 years. Like it's probably not been 100 years, but we go way back here. And Lisa offered today, and I was so grateful and really so honored that Lisa offered to come on and talk about her bariatric experience and tell her story. And if the word bariatrics is new to you, you'll know a bit about what it is. If you've had bariatrics, you'll probably leave this episode feeling less alone. And if you are thinking of it, or you have a loved one who is thinking of it, Lisa just has some really fantastic real world insights to really bring to light on this topic. And so with that, Lisa, I think what I'd like to do is just hand it over to you and let you introduce yourself, where you are on the planet, and just start with your story of bariatrics and that whole journey.
Sure. As Lynn said, my name is Lisa Salinger. I'm totally blind. I live in Harrisburg. I did not at the time. I lived in Northeast Pennsylvania. And back, I always forget if it was 2017 or 18, but I'm pretty sure it was 17. I had a sleep study, and it showed that I had sleep apnea and I needed a CPAP machine. And, that wasn't really a huge surprise. And I went to the doctor, and we had talked in the past about my weight. I have, for most of my life, been overweight. Some of that has to do with, I'm sure, environment, genetics, etc. Some has to do with bad choices I made. I own that. Some of it also has to do with pituitary and other hormone dysfunctions. I had tried some pretty extreme weight loss things with doctor supervision with limited success. So when I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, the doctor said, you have now 3 comorbidities. One is sleep apnea, one is obesity, and one is, I can't honestly remember what it was. But
there are 3 in there somewhere.
Yeah, it could have been that my cholesterol was borderline. It could have been something like that. And she said, have you ever thought about having weight loss surgery? And I said, absolutely not. First of all, I thought that one of my medicines that basically sustains life, that I wouldn't be able to take. Well, that had changed. That was no longer the case. But I said, I put this weight on in part through bad decisions I made. And so I need to take it off that way. And she said, well, how is that working for you? And I cried. And I said, I've worked really hard, but nothing feels like it is working. Even moving around is getting harder. And I said, I am getting so uncomfortable in my own body. Now, I don't mean the comfort with your own body, like self-acceptance in your head. I mean, my body was physically uncomfortable. And she asked me to think about it. And so I went home and I read books. I think I listened to something like, it was like 261 podcast episodes. I mean, I'm a researcher. I want to find out.
Oh, we are soul sisters, Lisa.
Yeah.
I tell you, if anybody got a hold of my Google search history, they would know every question I ever asked in my whole life.
And some of them aren't relevant to my life. I just wonder why people do stuff, and then I
know, that's what I'm afraid of.
On it, and yes, it's bad. So I decided I was going to do it. And I feel like I had hammered in the nail, but the universe had to like take that hammer and really hammer it. I was with a friend and they wanted to stop at Burger King. And I had decided at this point that I was going to have the surgery. I had made an appointment and I was trying very hard to sustain good eating habits. And I remember I had a grilled chicken salad. I didn't have dressing. I didn't have anything.
From Burger King.
And yes.
Oh, you were a saint.
Well,
I can't even do that. Go ahead.
No, I might, I don't remember at the time, but my biggest vice there is a frozen Coke, but we won't go there. Anyway, so we left and we were going to the car and I fell. And that was huge because for a little bit of time, I couldn't get up. I cannot explain in accurate words what that did to me. I felt panicked. I felt like I was being pinned to the ground against my will. You fall, you get up. Hello, it's that easy. Until it wasn't. And people came to help, and I just wanted to put a sign around my neck and say, I had the salad, I'm working on this.
Oh my gosh. So here you are, you're in the parking lot of Burger King.
Yes.
You fell.
On elbows and knees, and I could not get up.
And you couldn't get up. You're blind. You're with a friend, but still, okay.
I really thought that we were going to need to call an ambulance, someone like more people to help me. Yes. And I was really upset. I've told this story, but for some reason this time it's like hitting me like I'm back there.
Take your time.
And I realized what help I needed. I couldn't get my knee positioned forward enough to get myself up. And people were very helpful. There was someone behind me. I said, what I need you to do is I need you to push my right foot forward about 4 inches. And it was like my knees were up under me enough that I could get up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But my heart just pounded for about a good hour after. It was,
wow.
It was really a very traumatic experience. I realized it felt like my body had completely betrayed me. And that was like the clincher,
And at this point, you had already decided you were going to do the bariatric surgery.
Yes.
Great. Can I go back up a little bit and ask?
Sure.
At that first point of, hey, physician recommends bariatric surgery, initial response, hell no, not going there. Or my words, not yours. My words, not yours. What changed?
Sentiment.
Okay. What changed for you?
Well, that was like dangling a carrot. You can't dangle a carrot and not expect me to research it. And when I researched it, I heard, like I said, there were books, there were podcasts, and I heard about things that people could do that they couldn't do before. Really, it was kind of a desperation move because I just felt uncomfortable. Like in my own home, in my own space, where I had, I don't know, I was comfortable. But if I go into a restaurant, it's like, am I going to be able to fit into the booth? And if I fit, can I get in? I'm already a bit of a spectacle getting into a booth because I'm 4'8" now. Thank you, osteoporosis. I'm 4'8" now instead of almost 4'9". And so just getting in a booth sometimes is tricky. And there were more and more of those. So that's kind of, and I learned, that just because you have the surgery, you still have to work really hard. And in some ways harder.
Yeah, you do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is not, there's still, it may look like it, but it still comes back to there is no free lunch.
Nope. No, it's a big, hard journey, bigger than most folks even imagine. Yes. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I backed you up a little bit. We went to Burger King. We fell down. I'm wearing I want to wear I chose the salad sign. I love that. I could, that's exactly where my mind would be. But please, people, please, you have no idea the journey. And that's actually something I hear really common is it's why it's so important never to judge individuals in public, because we don't know what their journey is. We don't know what they've dealt with, where they've come from. And, it's so important. So what happened then after the Burger King story? Where does your story go next?
I kind of thought logistics. I was renting a room from friends. Long story. It would have meant walking up and down the stairs right after surgery for everything, to eat, to go to the bathroom. It wasn't going to work that well. So I decided that after surgery, I would stay with my parents, which made the other thing easier, which is, where am I going to have surgery? And so I made an appointment, and I mention this just because it's a great story. It didn't occur to me because it's so common. Would you like to know where I had my bariatric surgery? No joke. Hershey Medical Center.
Wait. Hershey Medical in Hershey, Pennsylvania?
Yes. Yes. And I didn't even think about it. I grew up around Hershey, Hershey this, Hershey that, Hershey Park, Hershey Medical Center, whatever. And somebody was like, no way, you had bariatric surgery in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I'm like, yeah.
The Hershey Hospital. So, I love it. Yes. I love it. Okay.
They were phenomenal. I went in to have the first consult, and I had let them know ahead of time that I'm blind. And they said, oh, we have a thumb drive with materials for you to read. I was like, I think I love these people already. And from start to finish, they were great. I think my insurance only made me wait 3 months. Sorry. Some make you wait 6 months to a year. I met with a dietitian. I met with a surgeon. I met with a psychologist. And for 2 weeks prior to the surgery, I had to eat a primarily liquid, protein-rich diet. So it was a lot of protein shakes. It was artificially sweetened yogurt. It was, I ate a lot of miso soup because I got tired of the cold, sweet, because you have to eat that stuff after surgery. And I remember one night just having a meltdown with a protein shake sitting in front of me. And I had myself a dandy little solo pity party where there were tears. And I just thought, if I have to drink one more protein shake, I'm going to turn into one.
In a moment, Lisa's going to casually mention what kind of bariatric surgery she had. And one of the common public opinion mistakes that is made is individuals think weight loss surgery is just one type of surgery, but there's actually a plethora of different kinds and variations that have really vastly big different ramifications and impacts for the individual going through it. So if you're curious to learn more about that sciencey side of the different kinds of this surgery, I would recommend doing an internet search on finding some reputable sites, like a Mayo Clinic has a real nice high level talking about the main types of surgery. Or if you want to go a little deeper, you can go to the bariatric surgery procedures that you can find in the American Society for Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery website, which is asmbs.org.
The surgery itself, I know that there can be complications. Mine was a walk in the park. It really was.
And what did you have done? Do you mind sharing?
Oh, no, I researched this too. And I realize now how bold this was. And I said, unless you think it's not safe, I would like to have the gastric bypass. And they said, why? And I said, well, my understanding is it's a little more restrictive than the sleeve. Now I hear differing opinions about that. I don't know. But they said, we do mostly bypass. Bypass and sleeve are the two major kinds. Now there are other kinds, but they're not done as much anymore. I don't think I think maybe there was a higher rate of complications.
Okay. Yeah. Great. So you did the big one.
Yeah. And they said, your stomach will be about the size of an egg. And my words, as I'm going under to the surgeon, I said, make it a little egg.
Lisa's like, I'm all in.
Yeah. That's very much kind of how I am. And it's a great asset and it's a great liability too, because it's, black and white has gotten me into trouble. There were a lot of restrictions after surgery.
Good. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. For about 2 weeks, I think I couldn't have anything that wasn't liquid. My first semi-solid meal was cream of wheat with protein powder in it, and nothing ever tasted so good.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. I was so ready for texture, Yeah. I wasn't allowed to eat raw vegetables. So I ate a lot of like mashed cauliflower and cooked carrots. I mean, things had to be really cooked. And it was so funny because my surgery was in September. My birthday's in November. And people said, well, what are you going to do if you can't have birthday cake? And I said, I'm going to get a green pepper and I'm going to stick a candle in it and I'm going to eat the whole thing. Well, I couldn't eat the whole thing, but it was a red pepper, but I did have it and it was wonderful. Protein. Oh my goodness. Protein is like, I wasn't as careful as I should have been post-op. About a month and a half in, and I had about 3 days with not enough protein. And I felt like I had been run over by a truck.
Oh, wow.
So protein has been really essential. I have to watch that. And when I don't get enough protein, it's usually because I'm filling up on other things I shouldn't eat. Some people who have had bariatric surgery if they overeat or they eat the wrong kinds of foods or they eat too fast, they have what is called dumping syndrome. Now, weirdly enough, one time I ate too fast and I had it. But usually what happens is I come in from somewhere and I am dying of thirst. And I forget that I have this small stomach and I go chug-a-lug-a-lug-a-lug. And then you kind of feel like you're going to die and you just wish you would hurry up and get it over with. And I have some strategies that help to deal with that. So it usually only lasts about 30 seconds to a minute, but it's pretty intense, pretty uncomfortable. I unfortunately don't have a lot of problems if I eat more than I should or the wrong kinds of things. I do have some little bit of GI upset if I consistently eat the wrong things. The really embarrassing thing I've discovered just in paying attention to my own body is if I eat too much, I start to sneeze. And that's really embarrassing because, again, we're back to the sign around my neck. And this one says, I ate too much, And it takes a while to learn how much you should eat. And it really can vary from day to day how much you can eat. I remember really having issues because we had gotten food from Taco Bell. And I planned the calories. And in the past, I would eat 3 tacos, which is not generally, for those not familiar with Taco Bell, it is not a tiny amount, but it is not like, oh, it's not, yeah, it is. It's easy. It's easy. And I could, depending on how full they are, because it does vary, I've noticed, because Taco Bell is probably my favorite fast food. I don't eat it often, but I do. And so I could eat one and I would be full and I would be kind of sad because my stomach said enough and my taste buds said more, and my brain says, but you always ate 3, so, and it really does depend. If I've gotten it, some days I will eat 1, some days I will eat 2. I think that, like I said, has more to do with how full it is than anything else.
Yeah. And you're about 5-6 years out of surgery. How has that evolved over the years?
So I had lost 115 pounds, close to 107. I'm sorry, 107. I gained back 7 at the beginning of COVID and have hung on to it. I have maintained a 100-pound loss. It is hard to do. I still am considered morbidly obese. I would like to lose more. I have not given it concerted effort in a while, but I want to kind of be more mindful and do a better job of measuring things. Right in the middle of things, as I've discussed on a previous podcast, I got long COVID. And so my energy was really kind of into just surviving. But even in that, I found creative ways to fall off the wagon. And there are plenty of them if you look for them. In my mind, I had foods that it's okay to eat when you're sick. Things like ramen noodles and grapefruit juice, which is discouraged because you can eat a whole grapefruit. So I've kind of come up with, there's a brand I heard about recently called Lesser Evil. And so they're kind of my lesser evil substitutes. So if I have no energy or I'm really nauseated, I will take, if I don't have any made, I will take a can of soup and I will open a can of chicken, or I will add protein powder to it. And so I can still accommodate for the nausea I sometimes experience as a result of long COVID. It's really a struggle for me to get back on track to the degree I would like, because I'm very black and white, and I had lost weight before and I gained it back because I think I felt like, well, if I can't do it right, I don't want to do it at all. And I know what's going to be really hard for me as I try again, or try still and continue, because I am still being careful. I'm being moderate because I have maintained that loss. But it's going to be hard because I'm not going to lose weight as fast as I did after surgery. And because of my pituitary issues, chances are really good that I will lose quite slowly. So I have to work really hard to take any off. And apparently, I was surprised at this. People seem to think that when they have weight loss surgery, they're going to go back to being able to wear what they wore in high school. And apparently, a loss of, I think it's like 35% is about average for people who lose. And there are a lot of people who have the surgery and then gain it all back.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty high for it.
Yeah.
Yep. And so can we take a look at, let's look at another layer here. Throughout all of this, you had friends, you had family. How was that for them? Or are you comfortable talking about your experience with just the people in your life while you went through this?
Well, I was actually asked, was I sure that I wanted to do it then? Because I had a dear friend who was like family. We shared living quarters. She was upstairs, I was downstairs, but she had a massive stroke and had to be in a nursing home for the remainder of her life. And she had no family. I was it. And she would have done the same for me. So I moved, I rented the room from friends so that I could go every day to see her. So I was doing that and I was working. I had a lot on my plate. And so I was asked, are you sure you want to do this now? And I said, I don't feel like I can wait. I don't feel like, there's always going to be something going on in your life. There's never going to be a good time. And I said, I really don't feel like I can wait. I feel like I need to do this. I'm really lucky because if there were people who weren't supportive, they just kind of kept quiet. For better or worse, I don't have a spouse. In this case, I think that's easier because I've heard of spouses really intentionally or otherwise sabotaging. I think they think, oh, they're going to lose all this weight. They're going to not want anything to do with me, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel pretty lucky that I had support. I haven't made it overly public. It's not a big shameful secret, but I haven't written it on a billboard. And this is probably the most public I've been with it, but I'm doing this because I wish it had been done for me. I know that a lot of your listeners are blind, and just a 2-minute journey into that, blindness didn't really affect things a whole lot. I was able to find product information online and through fitness apps. I talked to another blind person before I had the surgery, and I said, how do you handle when you're eating out? Because I'm not good at eyeballing something, like if it's a sandwich, I know chances are, depending on the size, I will eat between a third and a half. But I said, how do you know, for example, if you get soup? Because I'm a big soup lover. And she said, you might end up eating a little more or a little less. But she said, generally, you're going to feel full. So that's how you're going to know. And she said, she tries, and as do I, not to eat out overly much. Another thing that happens a lot, this has not been an issue for me, thankfully, because I don't prefer the taste of alcohol, but so, yeah, I'm weird like that. I just don't.
That's a good thing. I know lots of people who don't. And when I had COVID, I had my first experience of I just had alcohol had no appeal to me. And at first I was like, hey, and then I was like, wait, this is actually really good. And ever since then, and for other reasons, I've, you know my story a little bit. I've drunk way less than I used to. But so I get the whole alcohol doesn't appeal to some folks, and that is their truth. They're not just saying it.
No, they're really not. Yeah. And people try to convince you, and it's like, no, I've tried it. I mean, I like one or two things, a sip or two, but not much. But some people end up losing the weight, and they don't gain any of it back through use of a fork, knife, or spoon, but they end up drinking a lot of calories. So it's something to watch out for.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. If you had to do it all over again, would you?
Yes, I absolutely would, because I don't feel like I'm being smothered by my own body anymore. And if I can give some unsolicited advice,
go for it.
It does not matter if anybody, however influential they are, tells you you should get bariatric surgery. No way. It is a personal decision. If you're not ready to commit, then don't do it, because you're just going to do it for nothing. You know, I have someone in my life who's about 22, and I'm trying not to give details because for anonymity, but somebody was pushing her to get bariatric surgery, and she would qualify. But I said, is it something you want to do? And she said, I might feel like I have to later, but not now, And so, yeah, don't let somebody else push you into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so with you on there, because a lot of times there really isn't a right or a wrong answer. And I think a lot of times we use the words good, bad, right, wrong, but really they're just words to describe things. We're not moralizing anything. And you got to make
I felt like for me, I was at the point where it was the only right choice, because I was starting to move less, but not by choice, I just couldn't. And I was afraid that if I waited too long, I would be looking at a wheelchair. I did forget to say that I can. Now I don't, because I have this is another weird side story, but I have little hematomas on my knees. So being on my knees is very painful, and I avoid it whenever I can. But if I have to get onto the floor, I can get up. And I feel like, for me telling my story, it sounds like I spend my whole life in tears, which I do not. But when I got up, I was so grateful. I cried. And 3 days, I woke up in the morning, and my first thought was, I got up off the floor. I mean, that experience was that traumatic to me. It really was kind of pivotal.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And that's huge. I mean, that's freedom. That's freedom. Yeah.
It's freedom you don't realize you even have until it's gone.
Yeah. And then, and you, Lisa, you're just such this amazing, bright spirit. Even with your long haul COVID you mentioned, I've been rooting for you for years now. I'm like, come on, Lisa's body.
Thank you.
I mean, if you didn't have this gosh darn long haul COVID and other things, you would literally be running around the whole world doing all kinds of stuff all the time. So that, yeah. Okay. So for folks who are listening and they're thinking, I have a loved one I'm really concerned about. I've seen him gain weight and I'm really concerned and I want to say something, bariatrics or not. What's your advice? Do they say something or do they not? And if they do, I know. That's why I'm asking you this question. It's a hairball of a question. I know.
Yes, because from my end, I'm like, leave them alone.
Yeah, no, seriously. I want to know from your end. But
from the other end, it's like you see somebody on a one-way course of self-destruction. So I would, the person best. It's not really about what you want or what you feel like you have to say or you're going to burst. Been there, have the t-shirt. It's more about what they need from you. And so I would start by saying something like, if they say, I'm so I would try to let them bring it up first and just say, if I can support you in any way, please let me know. And support looks different for different people. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and somebody was very upset because her kids, who were of driving age, were bringing unhealthy foods into the home and eating them around her. For her, support meant not doing that. For me, I kind of just feel like, okay, them's the breaks. And maybe that's just easy for me to say because I live alone. But, some people may want and need to talk about it a lot. They may go back and forth 100 times. They may need and want to talk about how it felt when they were that really high weight and how they felt after they had the surgery and how they feel now. And some people are just like, yeah, it's part of my life, but let's move on. Try not to say, really, seriously, I know this is kind of common sense, but try and stop and think before you speak. I decided to confide in a friend who was blind, and I only say that because, it was, in this case, it's important. They couldn't see me. And I had said that I had bariatric surgery. And their comment was, you don't sound overweight.
Really?
And I so wanted to say, you don't sound stupid and insensitive, but funny that,
Wow.
So just think how would I feel if somebody said it to me, and also ask them, how can I support you? So for example, we have holidays coming up. My mother, weirdly enough, instinctively, and one of my sisters too, instinctively knows how much is a serving for me. And so, and I usually don't serve myself at holiday meals because I'm not familiar with the size of the spoons and what's where. And, oh, that was gravy. I thought it was whatever,
Yeah.
So, they serve. So that's a help.
Oh, so they know. So your family knows
yes,
what a serving size is for you, and then they
just seem, and they're not
that's
they're
great.
not like this is this and this is that. They just seem to. Well, my mom has done Weight Watchers did it for a while, so she knows about like small servings and portion control. And my one sister is very naturally healthy. And so I think she just automatically does smaller portions. But this is really hard for me. It's been hard. I've had to get used to sometimes wasting food.
I am so glad you brought this up, Lisa, because it comes up. Especially
it's
Gen X,
hard.
Gen X and baby boomers, we are the clean plate club.
Well,
and yeah.
So I have no shame. I have Ziploc bags in my purse. And so I'll take home a piece of something, or I'll ask, do you mind? But I'm talking like if I'm out, or I'll get a to-go container. But there are times where you just have literally a spoonful of something on your plate.
Leave it.
And
yep.
That's too easy. It's easier said than done.
I know. Yep.
So here's what I do, understanding this may not be and will not be for everybody.
Of course.
My faith is really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I end up having to waste, and sometimes it's like that, like at a holiday thing where I am served too much, or sometimes it's my own stupidity. Like I really think I have to have a donut and the store has half a dozen. And so I get it and I eat one and it doesn't live up to expectations. I don't have anywhere to give the other 5 to. I know they're not serving me. So basically what I do is I say, thank you, God, for making this food available to me. Thank you for the people who grew it. I'm sorry to waste it. I know you understand. Help me to forgive myself. And then it goes down the very hungry garbage disposal.
That is beautiful.
It, like I said, it's not going to work for everybody, but I used to hear people say, just leave it. Well, no, it's not that simple. You have to find a way that gives you peace. And if that's, like finding some kind of ritual, like, even, well, donuts don't grow on trees, but like, thank you, food that grew to nourish me. We can all be thankful to someone or something,
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Lisa, that is beautiful. And in my brain, when you said donuts don't grow on trees, my brain went, I wish they do. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't wish they do. Yeah. But no, wouldn't that be great? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, any parting advice for anyone who's considering bariatric surgery or on a similar journey?
Oh, I just teared up.
Take your time.
Hang on.
Take your time.
This was way more emotional than I thought it would be.
This is emotional stuff. This is hard stuff. And women in particular, we are so, well, I should say men and women. Everybody, we are so inundated and brainwashed and programmed of, thin is powerful, thin and tall is powerful. And,
yes.
And if you don't have that, then your worth is less than. And,
yes.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, even the coaches who do and coach this mindset work, I mean, it's still a struggle. And really all we can do is our best. Yeah. And then our culture still hits us again and again and again. It's relentless. And the one thing I think that some folks might find fascinating too is the fact that it doesn't matter if you're sighted or blind. This impacts all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How I was going to get there was made a little different by my blindness, but it's still a very similar journey. So I guess my advice would be to remember that you are enough. You are enough whether you weigh 600-700 pounds or whether you weigh 100-200 pounds. You are enough whether you have the surgery or not. You need to find ways to make peace with yourself, because if you don't, no amount of anything is going to fix that. As far as more concrete things, I would say just research. There are podcasts, there are books, there are support groups. If you have a bariatric facility in your area that does surgery, they will have support groups, and it's really a good thing. I haven't really found a good support system for me. I'm kind of cobbling one together, but having that, even like a monthly, there's a support group. It's just kind of at an inconvenient time, but it's like, it reminds me, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm up against. And you do need to commit to, eating somewhat healthily, because if you don't, you're going to be quite sick. You also, in most cases, need to commit to taking a bariatric multivitamin every day, and protein. So I have a protein power tip, if I may, and that's probably the last thing I've got. I really don't like protein shakes because I don't like milk. I have even stopped liking eggnog. I don't know that texture. But I knew that the easiest way to get my protein, some of it in the morning, was a protein shake. So, well, now I'm using the powder, but for a while I was using the shakes. And so what I would do is I would put half a protein shake in my morning cup of coffee. Now, as a result, I brewed my coffee pretty strong so that it still tasted like coffee and not kind of like cafe au lait. But that works for me. And extra tip, if you're blind, I find personally that the Premier protein shakes that are in a cardboard little container are slightly easier than like the Fairlife that are in plastic. The cardboard are easier because you can feel the cold more easily through the cardboard if you have it in the fridge. And then that way, you know, okay, I'm at about half. And you just don't like I live alone. So if I have half one day, and let's say that I pour an extra ounce in, well, okay, then the next day I'll just have 1 ounce less. So you don't necessarily want somebody else drinking your other half the drink, but that's one way to do it. And there are lots of, and Lyn's a great one for knowing about this, but there are lots of ways to get in protein. I just made, before we sat down to talk, I just mixed up some veggie dip with Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, and that's got lots of good protein in it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, tons. Oh my goodness. Lisa, I've just got to say, have always, since the day I met you, been so impressed with you and your thoughtfulness and just how you like to go deep. And today, I mean, you've just given us a gift. This is not easy stuff to talk about, and I just so appreciate you sharing your story.
My pleasure. I really hope it helps either someone who's considering it or a family member or friend or loved one.
If you are considering a similar journey, I want you to know about a fantastic resource we have for you called the Week Zero Checklist. In this checklist, it talks through all of those lifestyle pieces that really are your missing link to figuring this out for you in a way that doesn't feel like it also derails your life at the same time. It's a simple checklist with a lot on it that you can easily digest, and we've priced it cheap, and then we marked it down even cheaper so you can get this checklist for only $7. That's right, the price of a latte nowadays, and I can't believe a coffee costs $7. Can you believe that? So if you want to get a hold of that resource, that's really your number one place to begin this whole journey. Head over to couchtoactive.com/zero, ZERO, or the number 0 will get you there too. You can get that checklist, and that'll really help ground you in knowing what is your next best step to help you get a similar journey going for you. I'm Lyn Lindbergh, and this is the Couch to Active podcast. Head on over at couchtoactive.com/0.